First and foremost, Mets fans, if I'm lagging at all for the next couple minutes, I apologize, but I promise it's just going to be the first couple minutes of our post-game live show. Then it'll go back to normal. Just make sure you stick around for the entire segment as we have so much to break down, everybody. How we doing, all you amazing Mets fans? It's your guy, Wardy, here. It's Friday night. It's Black Jersey night. It's the final Friday night at Citi Field, at least for the regular season, not including potential postseason play. And the Mets with Brandon Sproat towing the rubber didn't get length from Brandon today, more so because of Carlos Mendoza and David Stern saying no yet again that I have gripes with. But what I don't have gripes with is the one and only and Juan Soto blasting his career high 42nd home run by doing something that, if I'm not mistaken, he hasn't done yet this season up until today, or has only done it one other time this year, and that was hit a 3-run home run. Are you kidding me? The one and only gets the job done for this Mets team on the home run galore. The Mets had offense early and often against this Washington Nationals team, a Mets team that was initially trailing 4-1 in this ball game. Talk about the comeback kids. They rallied, they prevailed, even in a game where you had the most fundamentally terrible inning in the third inning, headlined by a Brandon Sproat throwing error to first and Jose Siri not knowing how to handle a fly ball if it smacked him across the face. I like Jose Siri, but today he was dreadful. Cedric Mullins, why are you not starting Cedric against a lefty when he rakes against lefties? Look at the splits. The reverse is beyond me. I don't know what Mendy was smoking there, but what I do know is that the bats came to play and they secured a massive Game 1 victory. And what is, in a lot of ways, in my humble opinion, a trap series against this Washington Nationals squad. The Mets have been pond scum against lower opponents this season. They've sat right around 500 against teams below 500. It was imperative to take this Game 1 and have themselves a statement victory the way that we saw at Citi Field Flushing for all those amazing Mets fans. Everybody spam those W's on your way, and I want to see all your initial reactions, analysis, thoughts, and everything in between here in our live chat, and to our replay viewers, to the thousands of you guys that watch this replay after it's been live here. How you doing? My name's Tyler, better known as Wardy. I cover the Mets every single day here on YouTube, have for the past 5.5 years since Steve Cohen first became owner, and we're not stopping anytime soon. I do work every single day covering the Mets and MLB wide as a whole in the Bleacher Report app. I do work every single week there for the New York Post and their sports YouTube channel, as well as many other amazing things in the baseball community, everybody. And I'm amped up to break down what was a little bit of a sloppy win, no doubt, but an amazing victory for Juan Soto, Francisco El Troll Alvarez, and this entire Mets lineup, everybody. Spam those W's. Like I said, do not hold anything back from telling me how you're feeling right now. We're going to break down this ball game at great length, everything that you need to know about it from start to finish, including what we saw, what was nothing short of a huge bullpen game for this Mets team. Brandon Sproat was charged with 4 runs on 4 hits, but I'm here to tell you he was far better than what his final line will say he was. I'm going to get into why Brandon Sproat should not have all those 4 earned runs on his record today. Jose Siri did nothing to help this man whatsoever in center field. We're going to expand on all that, along with this Mets bullpen, with the exception of Huascar Brazo, bomb more like Brazo band today that we saw. Raleigh, Stanek, Ryan Helsley has 3 scoreless outings in a row, guys. I don't know what to do with my hands. I'm so excited about it. Tyler Rogers follows up a 7-pitch outing just from 48 hours ago or so, and now has himself a 6-pitch 8th inning. Chris Davinsky, not a problem there in the 9th inning. This Mets bullpen did wonders for this amazing Mets team, as well as the offense. This is how the lineup was to end the ball game, mind you, that we're going to break down in great length. Brandon Nimmo stepped up at the end of the ball game. The Polar Bear had some big hits. Lindor's base running was nothing short of tremendous. Juan Soto, we just talked about him, and we'll continue to do exactly that. Francisco Alvarez is the reason why the Mets even rallied back in this ball game in the first place. The list goes on and on. Luis Angel Acuna with some great at-bats and great base running late in this ball game. Pretty much everyone outside of Jose Siri was competent, and even though Brett Beatty was not overly productive today, Brett Beatty still at least had himself a run scored. A lot of breakdown in this one, everybody, and you guys know the drill by now, so thank you so much, Steve, for the donation. Soto's greatest season of any Met in history. It's actually insane. Juan Soto's first year as a New York Met, and he's casually breaking his own personal records in home runs, stolen bases, in which he's tripled plus the amount of what he usually gets per season, which is under 10, and his career high was 12. He's got 34, including his 34th that we saw tonight, and the best, the cherry on top of it all, all, everybody, before we get into our jingle, is the fact that Juan Soto did this against the squad that traded him away all those years ago. Juan Soto was offered over $400 million in an extension in his early 20s after already winning the World Series with this Nationals team and really said to Mike Rizzo, nah, I'm good. He would then get traded to the San Diego Padres, do nothing with them of overly significance outside of hurting on my Mets here and your Mets and the 2022 Wildcard, doesn't make playoffs in 2023, gets traded to the Yankees in the offseason heading into 2024, balls out behind Aaron Judge, and every Yankee fan and their mother, what did they say heading into the 2025 season, everybody? I remember, you remember, let's recall all together, oh, Juan Soto's never going to be able to put up those numbers. Oh, no protection with Aaron Judge anymore. How can you expect him to do well? Juan Soto, why would you leave the Bronx? You're never going to perform again. Buddy, when he was a New York Yankee in a one-and-done season, he didn't know defense if it smacked him across the face. He's having a far superior defensive season than last year, all things considered. Base running, it is night and day from anything this man has done in his career. His first year as a New York Met, making $100 million base salary, between that $50 million and another $50 around there for his salary bonus gross. What do we see in year one out of a 15-year contract with Juan Soto? Career highs, stolen bags, home runs. He is just 6 RBI shy of tying the season, a lead that he had last year at 109. This man is well on his way for not only another prototypical Juan Soto season, but you can rightfully argue a better season than you will ever get from your average baseball player, because there is nothing average about Juan Soto. He's in the same company as basically Barry Bonds, and that is about it when it comes to elite territory since making his major league debut. With that being said, everybody, let's let it rip as we always do after every big victory throughout the course of the 162. The one, the only, the Rally Lobster in hand and all, post-game jingle, baby. Let's do this. Let's go.
Postgame. Postgame. Calling all Met fans, come and join us now. Talking about this game and gonna break it down. It's Mets Postgame.
Shout out to my guys Greg and Jordan, as always, with the official WardyNYM post-game jingle. In case you guys are saying to yourself, yo, I'm just checking out this guy for the first time. Why is he dancing with a lobster? It's an inside joke we've been doing for a little bit now on the platform. If you know, you know. If you don't know, that's okay, but now you know, baby. After every big victory, shout out to the one and only. We're rocking the black jersey today. This is actually a custom one. I got one the Mets first signed him. It is a custom black majestic jersey, the better black jersey, not the lack of white piping that we see from Nike now, which looks like, honestly, not nearly as good as the white pipe ones, in my opinion. The white pipe is what makes it pop. I love it. I'm so happy to rock it. I'm so happy to get into our latest Mets postgame show presented by our amazing sponsor at SeatGeek that has you covered for all of your ticketing needs. You guys know the drill by now, but let me enlighten you. Head over there to SeatGeek and utilize our promo code WARDY10. That way you too get 10% off your next ticket purchase. All you guys got to do, again, click that link down below in the description. WARDY10, WARDY10 for 10% off your next ticket purchase. Whether it's for Mets tickets as you're trying to snag tickets in their final homestand of the season, or on the away trip as well. Maybe you're in Miami, maybe you're somewhere else. Whatever the case may be, NFL tickets, NHL with preseason starting, NBA right around the corner, you name it. Our awesome friends at SeatGeek, as always, have you covered for your ticketing needs. Shout out to everybody, all my members, all my live and recurring viewers. I appreciate you guys riding here. Says with a $5 holla, all you Juan Solo fans, he's the man. He is the man. Absolutely. Listen, give credit where credit is due. If there's one thing that we said about Juan Soto heavily in the first half plus this season, it's that we need Juan Soto to be that guy. We need him to start to show the life, to give us a reason to really buy in on Juan Soto this season, beyond the fact of everything that he's done this point in his young career. Soto didn't have a bad first half, but when it came to hitting with runners in scoring position, he was not getting the job done. Very much below the career norm. What do we see with Juan Soto here in the second half, especially from August on? A man who has been a man possessed when it comes to hitting with runners in scoring position. No longer are the days of batting the Mendoza line. We're pushing north of 300 plus there is Juan Soto, who's salivating out the mouth mouth now when he sees runners at second and third and not shying away and just trying to work that walk that we saw too many times there for a called strike 3 in the first half this season. Juan Soto's calm, cool, and collected, but most importantly, most notably, Mets fans, he is most certainly comfortable. And that comfortability, that confidence that we know is endless with someone like him at the young age of 26. We know that this man is the phenom of the New York Mets. He is the face of the New York Mets. As much as we love Francisco Lindor, as much as we love the polar bear, nothing gets in the way of Juan Soto's brilliance, his greatness, and he is showing you exactly why he's worth the big bucks that Steve Cohen ponied up heading into this season. Unfortunately for Soto, he can't pitch the way that Shohei Ohtani could. Otherwise, then he really would be the best player on the planet right now, because we need as much pitching help as possible. We see more starters, more relievers go down. It's basically official now. We said this on the platform the past couple days, but Reed Garrett and Tyler McGill are not going to pitch for the Mets again until 2027, mind you. They're getting shut down the next entire year because they're both getting Tommy John surgery more than likely. I'm wishing the best in their recovery, but the Mets lose more arms that, whether you love them or hate them, are not going to be relevant anytime soon for this squad. So the Mets need guys to step up and fast, what we have seen throughout the course of the season, which is why this Brandon Sproat start tonight was so important to see how he was going to perform. And I'm bothered if I have one gripe with today's outing out of everything, in which we love a nice 12-6 victory against the lowly Washington Nationals. That has everything to do with Brandon Sproat's usage today, everybody. Let's hop right into this, because I'd rather say let's start by talking about a little bit of the frustration, along with all the great successes the Mets had in this one. Let's rapid fire. Let's break down this ball game. Dave, thank you so much for the $20 donation. Love you, Dave. Hi, Tyler. Great win tonight. LFGM, great win indeed. Dave, as long as we win tomorrow, my guy, I got to make sure I show all the things you sent from the P.O. Box. I grabbed the latest thing you sent my way. Thank you so much for that. I cannot wait to unveil that. I'll probably just rock it next time that we do our show. I just got to make sure I go ahead and do it. Let's do a quick roll call, a shout out of all of our live members in here, everybody, and then let's get on to breaking down what was a big victory for the Mets, but a Brandon Sproat who does not deserve that final line, and I will stand on that until the very end. PB9, great member, how we doing? Thank you so much for shaman as always. Heck, how we doing? Great member. D-Mac, how we doing? Great member. We got Alvin, great member in the chat. Zach Flaherty, longtime follower. Moonshadow, great member in here, how we doing? Sanders in the chat, how we doing? Rebecca, great member. Steve Long, great member. Adorable Snowflake, great member. Eric Douglas, great member. If you guys would like to become members here on the platform for the #1 Mets platform, covering the Mets daily here on YouTube when it comes to post-game content, all news, rumors, rumblings, breakdowns, analysis, you name it, we got it covered. Link down below in the description to check out for our membership options. Everybody, you get exclusive perks, including emojis regarding the team that you guys can utilize in our live shows like this, and pre-record content in the comments down below. You guys will also get a members-only live show every single month with solely yours truly here for a live Q&A segment that we do towards the end of every month. That is barring changes with this one, because as we know, towards the end of the month means we're getting a potential postseason play. So to be determined when we get that schedule next up, but be on the lookout for it. We're going to have a lot of fun, as we always do. Rebecca, again, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate that. JTB, great member. Ryan, great member. Going up the list even more in here. Christopher Rodgers, how we doing? Ines, how we doing in the chat? We got Quiet Storm in here. We got Lewis. We got Milton. We got GoodTube. We got JR, great member. We got Truman. We got White Mike. We got the RZN. We got Paula. We got Murdoch, great member. We got Milton. We got all you guys watching live at a replay. Scott Sandler, if I didn't say him already. I do sincerely apologize if I miss anyone's comments. Please know it's not personal. I'm just doing my best to relay and react and break down all at the same time here with you guys, as well as what we have to break down from what was nothing short of an amazing 12-6 victory. G-Money Stacks in the chat. How we doing, baby? What's up? Let's see. We got our guys in here. Lewis, how we doing in here? The Atlanta Braves are eliminated from postseason contention. Love to see it. Let's curb stomp them. Let's stomp on that grave. Absolutely. That's what I got to say about that. Brooklyn Mets is hyped up. He says Mets all the way. Danny's loving the jingle. You guys are loving the jingle. I'm loving that, everybody. And as we take a quick look here at the Wildcard standings, the Mets are still 2 games up on the Cincinnati Reds, 2.5 games up currently on the Arizona Diamondbacks, and 3.5 games up now on the San Francisco Giants. So when we take a look at any of these teams, everybody, the Diamondbacks are currently winning 2-1 in the bottom of the third against the Phillies in Arizona. Outside of that, the Giants are winning 1-0 early in the first inning against the Dodgers for Clayton Kershaw's final ever home start there throughout the regular season, that we're going to see a Friday night home start, because Clayton Kershaw did announce his retirement. He will be retiring at the end of the season. I meant to mention this in my video that I dropped earlier today, but I'll say it right now. Cosmo, no, you're the GOAT, baby. Happy to have you in here. Esco, great member as well. Appreciate you guys. This is what I gotta say. Clayton Kershaw, we are never gonna see a pitcher like him again. Not to get on a tangent, just to summarize real quick. Let me know when you think we're gonna find a starter that can give you as many quality starts, as many innings, as dominant as Clayton Kershaw was as a southpaw. You're not gonna find that. Clayton Kershaw was in many ways my generation's version of a Randy Johnson. You know, I did not get a chance to grow up and appreciate Randy in his prime, but I was able to do so with most certainly Clayton Kershaw. And to see Clayton officially announce his retirement for this season's end is definitely bittersweet, as someone who definitely is not going to miss facing him as a guy who's dominated the Mets time and time again, even as he's gotten older. But even with all the ailments that he's endured over the years, I've always had a soft spot for Kershaw, because when healthy, when on that mound, we know that he's going to do something special. You know, when you look at the Clayton Kershaws, the Justin Verlanders, the Max Scherzers of the world, we are really now coming to an end of what is a massive group of pitchers that really have not only had a lasting impact on my life as a baseball fan, but the lives of millions, including you guys watching this live at a replay. So I'm wishing Clayton the absolute best in retirement. I hope the Mets can do something by rocking him and that Dodgers team should they match up in that wildcard matchup to begin postseason play. But until then, everybody, that is what I gotta say about that. We'll see what happens with the Mets if they gain more ground or lose any ground on those following teams still playing tonight in the hunt for that final wildcard spot, everybody. But now let's break down this ball game, because there was a lot in this one, everybody. And in case you guys did not watch it, let me enlighten you. Not only did you see great offense early and often by this Mets team after they were initially losing 4-1, mind you. So that was a big takeaway in itself, that the Mets were able to rally back in a game that they absolutely would have rolled over and died in a month and a half, 2 months ago. No question about it. But now it's do or die. It's put up or shut up time. This team actually put up instead of shutting up. They got the job done here. But between a terribly fundamentally sound game on both sides, this was not just a bad game fundamentally for the Mets, where they just have an act for playing down their competition defensively. Whether it's the Miami Marlins, the Washington Nationals, you name it, this Mets team just does not know fundamental baseball for the life of them when they need to most in these lesser matchups against these lesser clubs. Now, the good thing, however, is that while the Mets did not have their best fundamental baseball today on the defensive end, they most certainly did with their base running. And that is something that pales in comparison from what we saw from the Washington Nationals today. The Nationals were horrendous. Not only were their base running, I didn't love their base running when they're usually a solid base running team, nor were they good defensively at all today. James Wood is allowing a baseball to get in between his wickets. You know that's not looking good for the stick figure in left field. So let's get into it. Let's break it down, everybody. Scherzer, 7 ERA at 0.2 innings. Hate to see it. Love Mad Max. Will always have a soft spot for him. But listen, buddy killed me in the 2022 wild card. I was there in attendance. So whatever happens, Max, good, bad, or indifferent, I'm pretty neutral on. You know, it's one of those things where I appreciated him when he was a Met. He was really good in his first season with the Mets when he was healthy outside of that oblique injury. And then he was horrendous when we need him to step up most. Jacob deGrom stepped up in that wild card series. Max Scherzer, not so much. Whoa, we got a lot of tangents going on. Let's relax here. And the first inning, everybody, how's the ball game start? It's a 1-2-3 right away for Brendan Sproat, who gets back-to-back strikeouts on two of the best hitters in that Nationals lineup. Mind you, both batting from the left side. That's what made this all the more impressive. He strikes out James Wood without problem, and then he strikes out CJ Abrams. And he gets a strikeout on James Wood in particular, everybody, that we saw with a gorgeously placed curveball that he got down and in on James Wood for the first K of the ball game. It's a 1-2-3 for Brendan Sproat through the first. In the bottom of the first, Francisco Lindor with a single. And after a Juan Soto strikeout in the lefty-lefty matchup tonight, we saw the polar bear with a bloop opposite field single that got Lindor all the way home from first. And how Lindor managed to get all the way home from first was thanks to Mr. Dylan Cruz. If Dylan Cruz isn't hitting his only 2 triples of his entire season against the New York Mets, then he's having a defensive blunder in right field, because he either is way behind or 2 out. He just is not in unison usually in right field. And it's kind of interesting to see, because Cruz, we know, not only has a good arm, we know that Dylan Cruz has had range and he can be electric factor. He honestly gives me Harrison Bader vibes to a degree that when I watch Dylan Cruz play. However, what we have seen the past against Cruz, NDC is a man that's missed balls, diving for them in right field. And today really wasn't all that much different today, right? He can't make that play as that ball drops in front there for a shallow bloop single, and Lindor scores all the way from first as he bobbles the ball in the right field corner. So the Mets are quickly up in this ball game 1-0. But that quick lead would be something that quickly unravels at the same time, because Mark Vientos grounds into a double play. And, someone posted this on X earlier today, and I see it. I definitely see it. Mark Vientos, when people call him a bum and people down him, he steps up. Now, with the expectations for Mark Vientos, he's not doing the things we need him to do right now. But I loosely say that because, again, Mark has been one of the more clutch hitters for the Mets that we have seen since the start of August. We shouldn't really change our viewpoint in that. But there is no denying that when it comes to fastballs down the pipe, he just has not been seeing anything well this past calendar week for the most part at all. And that needs to change for Mark and fast because we need Vientos, Alvarez, and everybody else and their mother in the youth group of the baby Mets, even though they're just younger players, obviously, who have been here a couple years, to get the job done in the meat of the order and the bottom half, 6 through 9 especially. We got to get them to step up. In the second inning, we see Brandon Sproat with another 1-2-3, including a strikeout on Lyle to begin the inning. And the bottom is second. The Mets do nothing as they go down in order. 1-2-3. Nimmo Marte strikeout back-to-back. And the third, Paul DeYoung gets on with a leadoff walk. And you guys know the story by now. Leadoff walks can and always will be a killer, especially for young and experienced pitchers that have to deal with defensive blunders and what you just see. Jorge Alfaro ties the ball game 1-1 with the single, but that runner scores all the way from first, the way that Lindor did, and great similarity thanks to an error. It wasn't an error by the right fielder today in Juan Soto, but it was an error by Brandon Sproat as Sproat botches a throw there to Alonso at first, and no one is in immediate position there in that kind of shallow area between Soto and the infield to get the ball. We see Brett Beatty have to bolt his ass all the way from second base just to get there. And of course, by the time that happens, you're going to see a guy like Paul DeYoung score from first with ease. So Paul DeYoung, who has one of the most drastic splits against the Mets out of any batter in baseball right now. I'm not joking. Paul DeYoung has been the Mets' father in more ways than one during his time with the St. Louis Cardinals. But even Paul DeYoung didn't have to swing his bat today to be effective against this Mets team. All it took was a leadoff walk and a blunder of a defensive incompetence, not only by the throw by Brandon Sproat, but even worse, the ball just staying and no one really doing anything about it right away. And that quickly tied the ball game 1-1. Then Jacob Young gets on a walk, so we see the early rattleness of Brandon Sproat. And then James Wood would ground into a double play, a massive double play turn. Huge double play turn by this Mets infield. And I'm saying to myself the same thing that I think a lot of other Mets fans were saying in that point in time, and that is, okay, Sproat's going to get out of this, keep it at a tie ball game. But oh boy, was I proven wrong. Because CJ Abrams goes out and he gets it. CJ, who has been a thorn in the Mets side all season long there, part of that Juan Soto trade with James Wood, Robert Hassel III, and Mackenzie Gore for Juan Soto a couple years ago for the Padres, we would see a curveball that was beautifully placed by Brandon Sproat. Wasn't for a lack of effort on his end. And in case you guys are wondering how bad of a pitch was that by Brandon Sproat that led this to being an RBI double, this was as good of a pitch as you probably could have put for Brandon. Maybe a little bit more down, but let's be honest here. Is that a bad pitch by Brandon Sproat? Pitch number 5 on the count, a curveball down below out of the zone? I don't think that is. I think if anything, maybe you go a little down and in on him or down and away instead of just smack dab down. But he went out and got it, and that's impressive hitting by C.J. Abrams. He pokes that curveball to the right side, and that is going to be his 34th double this season. The speedy Abrams makes it a 2-1. Pardon me, that keeps it still a tie ball game. I apologize. It wasn't an RBI double, but it was a key RBI in this ball game for the Nationals, double rather. So that puts them in scoring position in CJ, and that at the time, everybody did make it 2-1. I'm getting very tongue-tied here, and I apologize. The reason why I went from saying it was an RBI double to not is because when I had this all set up on my notes, everything just glitched on me for a second, so I was getting myself tongue-tied as we speak. Point is, C.J. Abrams, RBI double down the first baseline. I saw it, you saw it, and that at the time, everybody had it a 2-1 lead then for the Washington Nationals. As we continue on from there, or again, good hitting by C.J., not terrible pitching by Mr. Sproat. It is what it is. Then Josh Bell has himself a double that makes it 3-1 Washington Nationals. And this is where I think Jose Siri was the main culprit and why we should not see Brandon Sproat charged with all these runs. Jose Siri, full sprint, mind you, is going out to make that catch of what is going to be an opposite field gapper by Josh Bell. What do we see? Siri reaches, He has it in his glove, and he drops it. That is not the first time Jose Siri has done this. We saw him do it in spring training, and we've seen him already do it multiple times. It's very small sample size in the Mets outfield this year. Jose Siri, who prides himself on elite defense and base running, has not provided either of those things consistently for the Mets since returning from his leg injury. And that's a problem, especially with Tyrone Taylor, who is balling out literally 15 minutes away from me or so there at Coca-Cola Park for the AAA Syracuse Mets against the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs. Of course, I was in attendance at yesterday's game when Kodai Senga can't get out of his own mess, and no one on the Mets prospect end can hit for the life of them. Outside of Jared Young with a bomb to begin the ball game, like, he ain't a prospect. Today, Carson Bench has his best game of his young career in AAA. He goes 4 for 4 with an RBI that will expand on more in content in the future. And Tyrone Taylor, who got himself his start today in the lineup, back in the lineup. I did not think that they were going to send Tyrone down for a rehab assignment, so I was proven wrong. I apologize. I'm going to correct myself for my video earlier this morning that I dropped saying that Tyrone would not be sent down because there was just a couple of games left. I was wrong for that, and I apologize. Tyrone did start that we saw in AAA, and he will be back with this Mets team soon, more than likely after this weekend, obviously, and he had himself a nice RBI as well. So Taylor, as he works himself back, do not be surprised if the Mets maybe decide that Jose Siri can simply not be on this roster right now. I like Siri, but he was nothing short of a liability today, and I can't sit here and defend him what was incompetence that we saw with the defense, because it wasn't just his inability to make that catch. Again, it was a solid effort, a full sprint effort, no doubt, but you still need to make that catch if you're going to get to the point that where he was. So he misses the catch. What do we see after? We see Lyle rip himself his 11th triple this season. Kind of crazy that he has 11 triples. That deserves credit for credit's due. Like, that's kind of nuts. Speed demon for sure. But this is less about Lyle getting a triple out of quality hitting, as it's more of a Jose Siri playing in on this baseball and allowing it to get right behind him. Like, Jose Siri looked so dreadful today in center field. I wish it wasn't an understatement, everybody. Siri puts the Mets in a 4-1 hole. That's why I'm telling you all right now, I don't care that Brandon Sproat had 4 earned runs charged on him. Those 4 earned runs should not be all charged on him. At most, 2 earned runs, in my opinion, should be charged, or at absolute worst 3, but not 4. I think 2 is feasible. He was the reason for the error to begin the inning, mind you. Let's not forget that. And then everything kind of unraveled from there. But at the same time, that one throwing error shouldn't lead to this thing getting 10 times worse before it gets better in the ball game. It was a horrendous 3rd inning. Just when you said to yourself, oh, some bad early funnies that we saw by the Washington Nationals that the Mets could take advantage, then the Mets go ahead and they have their fair share of bad funnies, but they're even 10 times worse. So just like that, in the snap of a finger, it's a 4-1 lead for the Washington Nationals. And I'm saying to myself, and I'm curious if you guys agree or disagree in this moment, if you're watching the game live as it happened, was as follows. There's no way that just happened, 1. But 2, is this Mets offense going to roll over and die now? What is next? How do they retaliate? How do they respond with that kind of sequence happening? And what do the Mets do? Down 4-1, they would do the following. With 2 outs, Lindor gets on with a walk. Soto then gets on with a single. Runners are at the corners because another fantastic fielding error by Dylan Cruz in right field allows Lindor to get first to third in the process. The polar bear and Pete Alonso, who already had himself a nice little big hit early in this ball game, he does it again. He pulls a single to left, and that makes it a 2-run deficit for the New York Mets. So you're telling me there's a chance they're still in this ball game. And that would continue on, but not before, unfortunately, we would see Mark Vientos ground out to end the inning. Mark EV, not a good day at the plate again for Mark. After a 1-2-3 final inning for Brandon Sproat, and yes, you heard that correctly, everybody. I'm curious if Carlos Mendoza is going to use the same excuse post-game today like he did his last start out there after he was cruising by saying, oh yeah, we pulled him after just 70 pitches because the velo was dropping. Miss me with that nonsense. Brandon Sproat should have at minimum won 5 innings for the Mets, and I will stand on that. I don't care what they had pre-planned before the game. I don't care what David Stearns may or may not have whispered in Mendy's ear before the game started. I simply do not care. The Mets need to be seeing what they have, these guys, and the length that they can provide. And while I appreciate the bullpen bullpen balling out and getting the job done today. A fantastic effort. A more than valiant effort by the Mets bullpen today. No denying that. Having said that, however, Brandon Sproat deserved to start that 5th inning. And I hate the fact that they are not even at bare minimum doing that. Something that Mendy did so often in the first half this season, where it came to bite the Mets more often than not, because instead of just allowing a starter to begin an inning after he looked bad his previous one, he would go ahead and have him start the inning, and then after he basically allows bases loaded, less than 2 outs, then he's like, oh yeah, let's bring in Reed Garrett. And of course, Reed gives up the lead or whatever the case may be. Now we're not going to see Reed for a year, so I'm not going to talk any smack on Reed anymore. It is what it is. I'm wishing him the best in recovery. But regardless, I was not happy, like most of you, to see Brandon Sproat pulled from this ball game the way that he was after 4 innings, everybody, because that is his final line. Brandon Sproat goes 4 innings, 4 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, a 3.94 ERA. But justice must be served for Brandon Sproat's final line ERA. It should not be 4 earned runs, and I will die in this hell. If I need to make a little picket fence sign and stand out at Citi Field tomorrow, I will do it. Obviously, I'm just yelling at myself like an old man yelling out a cloud. Cue the Simpsons reference. If you know, you know. But let's talk about Brandon Sproat today, and let's talk about what we saw from him as Arsenal. Let's get into the velo and just see how concerning, if at all, it was. The sinker was utilized 46% of the time by Brandon Sproat tonight. He topped out 98 miles per hour, sat 96 today, mind you, and was right in hand with what we've seen so far this season. The sweeper, 18% of the Arsenal today, topped out 86, sat 84, and right around the norm, and that was at 2,400 on the RPMs. In comparison, he was right around 1,800 on the RPMs with his sinker today. Changeup, 15% of the Arsenal for Sproat today. Topped out 93, sat right around 90. It was also right around 1,700, topped out 1,900 on the spin rate. The curveball at 15% of the Arsenal today. Topped out 82, sat right around 81 on the velocity, and was also right around 24 to 2,500 on the spin rate. The four-seam fastball he threw just 3 times a day for 4%. Topped out 99, sat 98, and was right around 2,000 on the RPMs. Something that I cannot get over with Brandon Sproat so far this season has been his brilliant lack of usage with his four-seam fastball. I love the fact that we are seeing a perfect continuation of what we saw, what he did in AAA this season. For those that are unaware, what Brandon Sproat has done differently this year, which is why he's now up and looking good in this rotation, all things considered, it's because Sproat deviated away from being a heavy four-seam fastball guy, a flat four-seam fastball that does not have good shape, and has utilized that sinker heavily, especially in the second half. And speaking of that sinker, what he has done so well is to making sure that he is not going solely sinker sweeper against both righties and lefties. That's something that bit him in the butt in AAA in the first half. So in the second half, what has he done? He's went more curveball changeup heavy against the lefties, which has alluded to more success, as well as what we're just seeing in a Brandon Sproat that has the confidence, that has the moxie. It looks like that he knows exactly what he's doing every time that he is now towing the rubber. So Brandon Sproat, listen, Buddy only threw 70 or so pitches today. I'm going to double check to see if Mendy made remarks himself that I can relay for you as to why Sproat was pulled when he was today. I could understand the argument a little bit more if he was pulled after the 3rd inning because it was such a blunder of an inning. But why are you pulling this man after 70 pitches of a 1-2-3 5th inning? I just can't seem to fathom it. And yes, I will nitpick this, even after the Mets winning 12-6. And the reason why I will nitpick it is because it doesn't make sense. I'm not going to say that it does. I'm not going to say it's justified. Just because the Mets won, that's only going to take you so far. So let's see what Mendy had to say today. Here we go. These are Carlos Mendoza's remarks, everybody. Let's listen up together. Take a look at them with me. I think you guys are going to have some choice words to say about this.
With Sproat, taking aside the fact that inning got a little sideways defensively, what did you see from his stuff?
Yeah, I thought the first 2 innings he was pretty nasty, especially with the way he was using the breaking ball, the sweeper, the curveball. Like, he threw a lot of them for strikes, to get chases, to get swing and misses, to get back in counts. The sinker obviously was playing up. And then on that 3rd inning, I thought he lost it a little bit. Lead off walk, then he doesn't make a play. And he kind of got away from him a little bit because he lost the strike zone there for a minute. Then his first and he gets a ground ball, we turn the double play, and he's, one batter from getting out of that inning, and before you know it, they hit some balls really hard there. But I like what I saw, and I think even though he only gave us 4, I was aggressive with him. I thought he could have kept going, but where we at in every game, I'm going to be aggressive when we need to. But I thought it was a positive outing from him.
Was that about third time through the lineup mostly?
Yeah, and then watching those lefties on that third inning, after Woods, Abram, all of the lefties that came in, there was some hard contact from him, from them. So I wasn't going to take any chances there, especially after we got back. And I was, instead of bringing someone with traffic, I wanted to give Brasso or whoever a clean inning, and that was the reason there.
It's Overmanaging 101, and this has been in a lot of ways the story of Carlos Mendoza's sophomore season as Mets manager. And as someone who's defended Mendy time and time again, it's hard to defend these kind of decisions, and here's why. Brandon, after having a horrendous third inning, not just because of his throwing error, but by Jose Siri's incompetence in the outfield, to bounce back the way they did for a 1-2-3 the inning after, for him to say verbatim that he could have went longer, but he didn't, because, we're at kind of at that point in the season where you got to have a short leash. How does it at all make sense to pull a Brandon Sproat, who regardless, say what you will about him facing James Wood and CJ Abrams again, but he didn't look terrible against CJ Abrams. CJ Abrams went down and got in on a curveball out of the zone that wasn't terribly placed by Brandon at all. And James Wood, he also took care of that we saw in the beginning of this ball game. So what makes you think it's in the better idea of this team to take out Brandon Sproat, who just had a confidence-building 1-2-3 inning, and to bring in a Huascar Braza man who's been nothing short of batting practice basically every single time he's been called upon, which is exactly why he has not been a reliable reliever that the Mets have really considered at all here in the second half. Because you want to know what happens when you pull Brandon Sproat from the ball game and you decide to go with your lesser pitching option and Huascar Braza man? Oh, color me shocked, Brazo gets rocked. But before, I love the wordplay there. I didn't even mean to purposely do that. That was spicy. I like that. Either way, let's talk more about Braza man, but let's also talk about this Mets offense here for a second, because we're going to talk about the offense. I'm going to break down Brandon Sproat's final line once we wrap up the ball game, everybody, so we'll get into that along with the pitching and much more here in a second. I want to know more your thoughts on the decision, if you were for or against Carlos Mendoza's decision-making to pull Brandon Sproat at around 70 pitches, 4 innings. Another start where Sproat only goes 70 innings for you, or 70 pitches for you or so. Mind you, Sproat was cruising his last time he was out there. Remember the last time he was on the mound? He dominated, went 5 to 6 shutty, and they still pulled him at 70 or so pitches because of velo dropping. Miss me with that nonsense. I'm going to tell you exactly why it did not make it was not a rightful decision by Mendoza here in a minute. Dave, thank you for the $5 holla. DeGrom is a better hitter than Siri, better fielder too. You're not wrong right now. I can't say you're wrong. Thank you so much for the donation, Dave. Love you. I appreciate that. As we continue on, in the bottom of the fourth inning, Brandon Nimmo with a leadoff single. Star-studded Starling Marte with a leadoff single. Mets gain something cooking here. They're down a pair. The tying runners are on for Francisco Alvarez. Alvarez, who's been getting more of that power swing back into the groove of things with him returning from his respective hand injuries. He got that one. His 12th double of the season, everybody, that we saw to left, puts the Mets in front, and that double would be vital for this Mets team, because not only would that be a massive double that we would see by Francisco Alvarez, but this would be another baseball that we would see be able to get past Mr. James Wood. The Mets taking advantage of the lack of proper defense in the corner outfields by this Nationals team, whether it's left field, we see there James Wood, who's a liability, Dylan Cruz, who's all over the place, is a liability in right field. The Mets were taking advantage of this, and Alvarez, mind you, that double was just 83 miles per hour there off the bat and had a 51-foot distance, and it still did not matter. That got the job done. That was massive, and that puts the Mets in a tied ball game at this point in time, 4-4, with Alvarez absolutely amped up, rightfully so, to tie the ball game the way they did. And that's the thing. Alvarez and Vientos haven't really been doing this in unison at all season long. When Alvarez first went down with his partially torn UCL in his thumb, that was right as he was hot, and Vientos was just starting to get hot in the month of August, including that series against the Seattle Mariners that we saw for the Little League Classic. Now that they're both back here, I need to see these guys thriving together. I'm longing to see them thrive more together in this lineup together, because Beatty would then get on with a hit by pitch. Siri strikes out on a breaking ball that wasn't even close because he's just swinging at everything. The way that Siri drops his shoulder pisses me off so much sometimes. I can't deny it at all. And then we see Francisco Lindor give the Mets the lead in this ball game as he would rip himself a single to the left side. That would make it a 5-4 ball game for this Mets team. And that would be all in thanks to James Wood and the error. Wood, it's one thing to handle how he handled the Alvarez double. Not as egregious. What is egregious is to allow a baseball to get in between the wickets, which is exactly what happened to James Wood there, everybody. And that gave the Mets a 5-2 lead. So then the Mets still have runners at second and third as Lindor is driving in those runs. And then we see Juan Soto get set, and it is launched. It's high, it's far, and it is gone. A dead center 3-run shot for Juan Soto, his career high 42nd home run of his young 26-year-old career, already surpassing the most home runs they had in his one-and-done season with the New York Yankees from a season ago. Soto gives the Mets an 8-4 lead in this ballgame, and thankfully from that point on, they would never look back. But guys, it doesn't just stop there with that Juan Soto home run, in which he's been so tremendous, the best hitter in all baseball in the second half. He will be getting MVP votes, rightfully so. This man has been scorching hot for an absolute hot minute now. But guys, as we get to the 5th inning, Huascar Brosman comes in for Brandon Sproat. What do you say to yourself as a Mets fan that want to see Brandon Sproat start the inning? You say what I say, and that is as follows. Okay, let's at least have Sproat start the inning. Have him face the batter. Depending on how he looks against that batter will dictate if he stays in the ballgame. Have a reliever ready if you really want to give him a short leash today, Mendy, but at minimum, let him face the first batter, because you cannot sit here confidently and tell me that, oh, he couldn't face that first batter and get that out. Miss me with that nonsense, because instead you have Huascar Brosman, wild thing, da-na, you make my, you know what I'm saying here, because Brazo is that. You don't know what you're getting from him on a daily basis at all. He's making Ryan Helsley out here look good. That's how low the bar is at the moment. Brazo gives up a leadoff single to Jacob Young. It's almost like Brandon Sproat could have did that himself before getting pulled. Then, what do we see? A James Wood strikeout. I like the James Wood strikeout, but what I hate even more is that at least it was just a double given up for an RBI. Brandon Sproat to CJ Abrams. Not a long ball. Brazo's serving up batting practice. It's CJ's 18th home run of the year, and he makes it a 2-run deficit with a 2-run shot there to right. That is where I was beyond pissed off. That is where I said to myself, this is a results-oriented business, okay? Of course I'm going to be pissed off when I see Sproat out on 70 pitches, 4 innings, and then his replacement is dog water. I'm not surprised to see this happen. I'm just sick and tired of the continued incompetence that has been Carlos Mendoza, either leaving starters in too late or pulling them too early. This guy has had such little feel for this team in year 2. I wish I was lying. And I know it's not his fault for the pitching injuries. I know a lot is not his fault when it comes to construction. However, his in-game decision has just not been at all what I feel that we saw in good portion last year. And he wasn't perfect last year. In his first year as Mets skipper, I think we can all agree, he was not good with the bullpen. He had a lot of gripes with the bullpen. I did not like how he looked with the bullpen in many facets. And some things were in his control, other things weren't. But for the things that were in his control, that most certainly was a frustration. Alex, my guy, A-Flow, thank you so much for the $5 holla. He states the following. You think Sproat getting pulled in the 4th is because of his innings? Also, heading up Cadillac Club tomorrow, any advice? 1, have a blast at Cadillac Club. My advice would be take advantage. It is endless drinks in the Cadillac Club. If you would like to enjoy yourself for a nice, midday game there with Noah McClain towing the rubber, get there early, pop your brewskis, enjoy the free food and drinks the whole time you're there, and just have a blast. That's all I got to say. You're going to be able to really mingle and kind of chirp and interact with Soto more one-on-one, because Soto's right there in right field to where the Cadillac Club netting is. There's also a solid chance that a home run ball could be hit on top of the Cadillac Club tomorrow, whether it's in the Mets' favor or against them, that being the Nationals. Whatever the case may be prepared, because if that home run ball does come, you will see some kids in the Cadillac Club that are going to wall climb the netting right away to try to get the ball to go from either side. So if you're adamant on trying to get a ball tomorrow, either from a home run or from Soto's kindness, because Soto usually gifts at least one ball, if not multiple, throughout the ball game to people in the Cadillac Club, just make sure you're alert and paying attention. So that's what I have to say for Cadillac Club advice. Now, to get on to what you had to say about the innings, it's definitely a factor to a degree, but it's more of, from what Mendy relayed today, that we just said in the chat a couple minutes ago, from his own words coming from the man's mouth himself, is that his main decision was because of his fear on how he would handle the lefty batters again in James Wood and CJ Abrams. And my reply to that, my rebuttal is, that's bullshit, because you allowed Huascar Brosman, a worse pitcher, go in there, be batting practice to CJ Abrams. It's almost like we saw the writing on the wall. Yet for some odd reason, Mendy, you can't find yourself with the ability to read. I just don't understand it. As we continue on, everybody, because the Mets, and let me get this, is camera focused? Yeah, we're focused for the most part. Okay, as we continue on here, CJ Abrams, 18th home run of the year. That makes it a 2-run ball game. So the Nats are still in this one, even with the Mets. Mind you, having the amount of runs that they have, 8 runs, is not enough. There's nothing sacred in Mets land, sadly. As we then get to the bottom of the 5th inning, Starling Marte with a single, but that's all she wrote. And the 6th inning, we see Ryan Stanton come in after Garcia grounds out, and that's the final out for Brosman. He then gets Dylan Cruz striking out on the called strike 3. Looking. Paul DeJong lines out. So DeJong not getting the job done, thankfully. And that does it. Ryan Stanton is through the 6th. In the bottom of the 6th, Series strikes out. Color me shocked. Lindor lines out. Soto with a 2-out walk. And then after a pitching change, Soto steals his 34th bag of the year before the inning will be ended by a pop-out by Mr. Pete Alonso in the infield. And the 7th inning, cue it, everybody. It's Hell's Bells time. But oh my God, are we going to hell in the sense that it's going to be a terrible inning? Are the Nationals going to rally back? It's Ryan Helsley in a 2-run ball game. I don't like this. This isn't comfortable. This is not low leverage. I don't like this at all, as a matter of fact. Well, folks, I ended up liking it. Ryan Helsley comes in. He gets a ground out on Jorge Alfaro. He gets a called strike 3 on Jacob Young. And when we talk about where that called strike 3 was on Jacob Young, that was a borderline strike, outside corner slider, just nipping it. You can't take that pitch if you're Jacob Young. It was a perfect pitch by Ryan Helsley that I implore you guys to look at right here, right now. Just look at that, just on the outside of the line there for pitch number 7. Literally, that is to a T as good of a pitch that Ryan Helsley could have thrown there. The only thing that would have been better is if you got him to bite a little bit more down and away, more out of the zone on the slider. But for him to instead get him on called strike 3, looking on that is nasty. So Ryan Helsley had the slider today. The pitches weren't tipping from everything that we saw, because he would get the call strike 3 on Jacob Young, and then he gets the line out on James Wood. A matchup that a month ago, 2 weeks ago, James Wood is hitting that 450 feet dead center. Not tonight. Not today. Ryan Helsley is here to stay, guys. Ryan, 3 consecutive outings, no runs allowed. I thought that I was the main reason as to why Ryan Helsley had success as a Met. I'm only half joking as I say this. In case you guys don't know the lore here, let me enlighten you. I've attended the first 3 outings of good Scrolls outings by Ryan Helsley this season. That include his his Mets debut, trade deadline, August 1st, right after the deadline there, against the Giants, where we lost in extras. Dom Smith, shout out to you for killing me that night on our Wardy Day, mind you, where we did an event at Citi Field that was so fun with all you guys that attended. Then I was in attendance for Ryan Helsley's next outing, which was the Mets' 13-3 victory on a Monday against the Philadelphia Phillies at home when the Mets swept them. Then I was in attendance in Philadelphia in a losing fashion to Noel McLean getting his first career loss because he got DeGrom treatment. 5 innings of run-and-run baseball is not enough for a Mets offense that had nothing to do against Aaron effing Nola, who had a 10-year rate entering that outing over his previous 6 starts. Still lives rent-free in my head because I'm really pissed off that I got nothing. I've seen no offense as of late when I've been attending these games. Even when I saw the effing Syracuse Mets yesterday, they couldn't get any offense going for me. It wasn't Andrew Painter pitching, but it didn't matter. They could not hit to save their life. I'm the bad luck there. However, I've been good luck with Ryan Helsley. I've attended 3 good outings. Now he's done 3 good outings without me. I think Ryan Helsley is officially starting to figure it out, everybody. And that's insane. Because if Ryan Helsley can at all be reliable for you heading into postseason play, the Mets will now have the tandem that we have been longing for. Could you imagine, finally, a month and a half plus after acquiring Ryan Helsley to be your shutdown setup man for Edwin Diaz. It takes him north of 2 months to finally become that person, but by God, it's always better late than never. And if Helsley can do more of this, the Mets have something cooking. Because let's not understate how effing good Ryan Helsley is when he's right. He is one of the best relievers in all the National League. He led all baseball in saves last year. There is no denying that if Ryan Helsley can perform more to his potential, like an 85-90% Ryan Helsley, instead of the 10% Ryan Helsley that we got the previous month and a half of him playing incompetent baseball for this Mets squad, then this Mets team is in great standing when you look at the back end of that rotation. Pardon me, I meant to say bullpen, not rotation there. But as we continue on, everybody, Ryan Helsley gets the job done. He shuts it down there in the 7th inning, which then leads us to the bottom of the 7th. We're in the bottom of the 7th. Jeff McHitz gets on with a leadoff single there off, and that's right to Dylan Cruz. Then we would see star-studded Starling drives him in there. Marte makes it a 9-6 Mets lead. Acuna, who came in a pinch run right away for McNeil, would get this without a problem because after a Nimmo ground out, we see Acuna go all the way to third base, mind you. So not a problem for Acuna, who then scores from third with less than 2 outs for Marte, and it's a 9-6 Mets lead. And the 8th inning, everybody, Tyler Rogers comes in, and as I mentioned earlier, Tyler Rogers' last outing a couple days ago, if it wasn't yesterday, I got him confused. Tyler Rogers, the last time that he pitched, had a 7-pitch inning. A perfect 7-pitch inning. Today, after Ryan Helsley gave you a perfect 7th inning, we see Tyler Rogers, the other big bullpen acquisition at the deadline outside of Gregory Soto, shut the door down on Abrams, Bell, and Lyle on, yes, you guessed it, not 7, we're going 6 with the pitches. Yes, folks. And yes, I somehow now have a 6-7 reference here in the live chat to any of you little schmucks out there that joke about the 6-7 stuff. I really don't know the lore behind it. If I'm being honest with you, I am uncultured. I'm a father. I'm in my mid-20s. I'm out of the loop now in some of the silly little TikTok memes and trends. But I do know that there is something of significance with 6-7. So I hope someone clips this and does something heinous with it or just something funny, because I do know that there is something to that. Sean knows what's up in the chat, but I'll be completely honest, I don't know the lore there. So I think that makes it funnier for me. Either way, in the bottom of the 8th inning, we see Brett Beatty call down strikes. We see Cedric Mullins striking out. And then we see Francisco Lindor. 34th double of the season there. Lindor's 3rd hit of the ball game. Then we see Soto intentionally walked. The polar bear then gets walked. It's bases loaded for Luis Angel Acuna. And Acuna, all he needs to do is stand at that damn plate and not swing. He does exactly that. And we find ourselves with a 10-6 lead. Then it becomes a 12-6 lead because after Acuna is walked in, mind you, for that 10-6 lead, it becomes 12-6 because Brandon Nimmo pokes a 2-run single up the middle, everybody, and that gives the Mets double the runs that the Nationals have, and they go on to win this one by a final score of 12-6. In the 9th inning, we see Chris Stefanski come in, give up a single to Dylan Cruz, as well as a Robert Hassel double, but it doesn't matter. He works around it. He strikes out Riley Adams, swinging, and then Nunez strikes out swinging. That does it for a 12-6 New York Metropolitan win. As we get to the pitching, Brandon Sproat, guys, I am giving Sproat today a 6 out of 10 on the grade. I am saying miss me with that nonsense on that final line. He should have won 5 innings. He would have won 5 innings, and he does not deserve 4 earned runs. This is the only time this season I think I've looked at an earned run final line and confidently said to myself, at minimum, 2 of those runs should not be there, and I stand on that. Jose Siri, while he did not have the easiest way to handle those baseballs in the outfield, by God, he needed to be better there. So I'm putting the foot down. I really feel that if Tyrone Taylor's in center today, that shit doesn't happen. I feel very confident saying that. I can't completely say that with someone like Cedric Mullins, because while Mullins is a good defender, he isn't overly fast. Mullins is a slowpoke in comparison to Siri and Tyrone. But Siri was behind on the jump that we saw on the second ball, and on the first ball had contact there, but it wasn't enough. So Sproat, I'm going with a 6 out of 10 on my grade today. And on the bullpen, because outside of Brazaban, the bullpen was nails. The bullpen went 6 strong innings, allowed 2 earned runs, 4 hits total, and had themselves a total of 5 strikeouts. 5 strikeouts, 4 hits, 2 earned runs across 6 innings. If we combine that, if that's a starter final line of 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, and 5 strikeouts. If I was giving that a grade as if it was a starter's final line, that would be a very good one. So I have to give the bullpen today a rock solid 7 out of 10. I thought the bullpen today was very, very good. You can even argue 7.5. I won't go 8, but I think 7 out of 10, if not 7.5, is definitely deserving, especially when you look at what Helsley, Rogers, Stanek, I mean, all of them. I mean, just let's be honest. From Raley to Stanek to Helsley to Rogers, Steven Devensky, they all did what they needed to do. Mario, I just realized, Mario, you donated, my guy. I'm so sorry if I missed that from earlier. Dave with the donation. Siri needs to go work for Apple. Yes, he does. If you know, you know. Thank you for the donation. DeGrom is better. Thank you for that donation too earlier. I appreciate that, Dave. Mario, I think I just realized, Mario, if you donated earlier, Mario, and I didn't answer your comment, please do me a favor and relay in the chat what your comment was again. I would really appreciate that because I'm not 100% if you donated, but I think you did. So that's why I'm just clarifying and making sure that I got all my ducks in a row here. Let me know. I appreciate that. Steven says, hey, Siri, where are you at? Can you tell me how to get to a destination the ball with a grade A defensive supposed town? I agree, Steven. Where we need Jose Siri to be shit talked on because maybe that'll get him right. You know, we need something from him right now. Love his energy, but Gilbert is a fourth outfield, 100%. Drew Gilbert has only had like one hit since that hype video that was posted a week and a half ago by, Fox Sports on him getting choked out by Chapman and stuff. The Giants, from our guy Mario, says that they're up 2-1 right now against the Phillies. The D-backs, are up 2-1. The Phillies and D-backs are tied 2-2. So what are we hoping for outcomes? Well, what we were hoping for, because I'm trying to think. Let me make sure I have this correct. Which team do the Mets have the tiebreaker versus don't have the tiebreaker on again? Let's clarify that because that dictates who we kind of want to win and lose here. Kind of forgot about it. Okay, no worries, Mario. If you remember, or next time you donate, know that I'll be there. You know I almost never miss those, so I apologize again for that. Thank you for the donation. Nonetheless, whatever you may have sent my way. Let's see. You were like, he hits 30 home runs. I told you how the ball carries in Baltimore. Rebecca, if you're referring to me, I meant it in the sense of Cedric, I thought would have provided more value than what he did to this team. Unfortunately, Cedric hasn't even been utilized properly by the Mets, and that's a problem. Cedric Mullins was a prime candidate to get the start today. He's been swinging the bat better this past week. He had a home run and a couple nice hits. And he does unbelievably well against left-handed pitching. The fact that Carlos Mendoza continues to play him opposite from what his splits have been this year is beyond me. It makes little to no sense at all. I just don't see how that at all makes sense. I've yet to figure it out. So that's what I have to say about that. Let's see here. Someone in the chat did break down 6-7 for me. I kind of want to read that, and then I'm going to break down the offensive numbers here. The origin. The expression started with a 5-star basketball recruit named Talon Kinney, who is 6'7" tall. Thank you. I'll have to check him out. Again, I have no clue. I'm so out of the loop there. Liam with a $2 holla. Let's see. No tiebreaker versus the Reds and D-backs. Okay, so noted. It's the Giants then that were looking at there. So we don't have the tiebreaker against the Diamondbacks, but we do against the Giants. Understood. Okay, so that answers the question. Yep, we have it on the D-backs and the. Oh wait, so we have the tiebreaker on the D-backs and the Giants. We do, is what Liam says in the chat. The Reds own the tiebreaker against us, which is why we want the Reds to continue to lose. Liam lied, so Liam's smoking that good. It's okay. Come out to play. Mike, what are we talking about, you freak? Wardy, come out to play? What is this? Child's play? I'm going to open the door and I get little you that is Chucky? You know, like, what's happening here? Bane got your goodie bag at work. That's awesome. And a huge dub. Love to hear that. Love to hear that, my guy. Thank you for chiming in. I appreciate you, Mario. For those who don't know Mario, he works at Citi Field. He's a beauty. So, okay, we want everybody to lose, basically. That's, I think, really what it comes down to, right? Like, let's be honest. None of these matchups are matchups where we prefer one to win over the other. Like, it wasn't like we have the Giants facing the Diamondbacks again. It's the Giants versus the Dodgers. We want the Dodgers to win tonight. Simple as that. The Phillies are facing the Diamondbacks. We want the Phillies to win tonight, as crazy as that is to say. And the Reds, we just want the Reds to continue to lose. That's all there is. So we just want those teams to continue to lose. And the good thing is I think most of those teams hopefully will continue to lose, but we'll just have to wait and see. On the offensive end for this Mets team tonight, this is what we got from them. This is how the ball game ended. The Mets did far greater when it came to hitting with runners in scoring position. They went 5 for 11 tonight, batting just under 500 and left 6 on base. Much better in the hitting department when it comes to actually stepping up when they need to most. You love to see it. Was that the Mets game? Staten Island. You're currently on a Staten Island. On my way. Let's go, Mets. You're the best. You're the best too, Blindbeard. I hope you and your wife here are doing well. Thank you so much for chiming in. I appreciate that a lot. As we get into this one, everybody, Lindor, with his 3-hit game, 4 runs scored. Lindor is up to a 268 average and finally an 800 OPS. Let's see if Lindor can finish this season with an 800 OPS or higher. Let's have Lindor finish the season with a 270 average and an 800 OPS. I would love that. I would really love that. Soto with the big bomb today, the 3 RBIs, 265 average, 931 on the OPS. Now, Soto has 103 RBIs on the year. Lindor, for context, has currently 79 RBIs. Brandon Nimmo has 10 more RBIs than Lindor this season. Kind of nuts. It really is. And they have such eerily similar home run numbers as well. Now, stolen bases, Lindor's trumping Nimmo there, but Nimmo still has a couple stolen bags as well, even though he's not as known for it. But Nimmo, 88 RBIs on the season, too. Pretty impressive. Alonso, big game for him. We saw with the with a nice day, a couple hits as well that we saw from Mr. Alonso and a couple RBIs. Alonso today for the Polar Bear, who had 1 RBI, I apologize, because the other was thanks to an error technically. 272 average, 872 OPS. Vientos, 0 for 235 average, 711 OPS. McNeil as a pinch hitter, 1 for 1, 253 average, 769 OPS. What we see, and Acuna with a run scored, 234 average, 565 OPS. Nimmo, 262 average, 767 OPS, who had himself 2 RBIs. Marte, 2 for 5 with an RBI, 277 average, 769 OPS. And Alvarez, who had himself 2 RBIs, 254 average, 775 on the OPS with his 12th double of the season. Beatty, 0 for 3 with a run score, 255 average, 751 OPS. And Siri, 0 for, and Mullins went 0 for 1. Siri's batting .063 with a 292 OPS. Yes, you heard that correctly. Mullins is batting .219 with a 700 OPS. That is what you got from a Mets offense that out hit 13-8 of the Washington Nationals today. On the exit velos, let's take a quick gander at this. Take a look, a little glance over here to see what they did. Of the hardest hitters in this ballgame today, for the New York Mets at least, it was Francisco Alvarez. Had the hardest hit baseball out of any batter in this ballgame today. He actually had a 111 mile per hour force out in this one. It wasn't even his double, it was his force out. Alonso had the 4th biggest contact of velo in this one at 109.4 off the bat on his scorching single that led to a run scored. Outside that, Dylan Cruz, Abrams, and Cruz, they had the biggest hits. And mind you, you want to know what's so effing funny to me? I actually can't get over it. Carl Spindoza says, yeah, you know, James Wood, CJ Abrams, they're hitting Brandon Sproat hard. We got to pull him after 4 innings so he doesn't face them again. The hardest hit baseball that Brandon Sproat gave up tonight was against Dylan Cruz by far at 110 miles per hour for a ground out. The second hardest hit baseball that Sproat gave up was against Lyle, the triple. After that, it was James Wood at 100 miles per hour, and that was into a double play. So it wasn't even about results, mind you. It was just about this nonsense that Mendy continues to peddle. Then we look at, okay, what did C.J. Abrams do against Huascar Brazoban, who came in for Brandon Sproat? Because again, Brandon Sproat can't face the lefties apparently, 3rd time in the order. 110 off the bat, C.J. Abrams for his home run. So Mendy, I don't know how many times I got to continue to say this, Mendy, on a nightly basis. Stop over managing. It's happening far too often. Far too often. Just stop over managing. You could have gave him the 5th inning. Tell me you could have gave him the 5th inning. Stop the nonsense. Stupid. I'll leave it at that. I know. It's getting late night. I still got to record my video for Bleacher Report. If you guys don't know, I cover the New York Mets every single day in the Bleacher Report app in a nice little recap fashion. So if you guys want to check out yours truly after every big victory or loss throughout the course of the 162 here, with the remaining week or so of games to be had for this Mets club, you guys can do yourselves a favor. If you want to watch a recap, instead of maybe watching the whole post-game show like this, north of an hour long, if not an hour plus long, head over to Bleacher Report, type Mets, scroll down, find the thumbnails that look like they're from me, that have my logo, because newsflash, they're from me. That's my video. Check me out in the BR app, everybody, for your recaps daily. I will have my recap dropping either late tonight or early in the AM for this victory that we just saw transpire and that we broke down ourselves here. And look out, my next segment with the New York Post will be coming up this Monday, barring changes there on the New York Post Sports YouTube channel. So again, guys, I really do appreciate it. I sincerely thank you so much to everyone that watches live on a replay. You don't need to hang with us, schmucks. Go do what you need to do, Wardy. Oh, I got to hang with you guys every single night because you guys are what keep things afloat. 1, 2, I love you all to death. And 3, I'm damn excited because hopefully if we get ourselves ready for postseason play, guys, this is calm, cool, and collected, Wardy, right now. You have no idea. You may have an idea, but you have no idea how crazy things are going to get here on the platform over the next week and a half. Buckle up, everybody. This is right now, it's looking like the calm before the storm. Thank you guys again. Mets win this one 12-6. They look to continue their winning ways and look to secure a series victory with our ace towing the rubber tomorrow and Mr. Nolan McLean. I hope to see you guys there. Until then, have a fantastic rest of your night, day, evening, whenever you're watching this. And as always, no matter what, everybody, no matter what, NEC, great member JTB, same to you guys. Let's go Mets. Peace out.